Let us begin with a painful, uncomfortable scenario that you have almost certainly experienced. You are in a group conversation at work, at a social gathering, or even among your own family. You wait for a quiet moment to speak. You open your mouth, offer a thought or an idea, and before you can even finish your second sentence, someone talks right over you. They don't even look at you. They don't apologize. The conversation simply flows past you as if you were made of glass. Or perhaps it happens in a more subtle, insidious way. Someone makes a passive-aggressive joke at your expense. Everyone laughs. You feel that sharp, cold sting in your chest. But instead of standing your ground, what do? You smile awkwardly. You laugh along with them. You pretend it didn't hurt. Because you don't want to make a scene or look sensitive. And what happens after that? It keeps happening. The boundary line gets pushed further back every single week. People delay replying to your text messages for days, cancel plans with you at the last minute, offer unsolicited advice about how you should live your life, and treat your time as if it were completely worthless. When this happens, most people retreat into bitterness. They lie in bed at night, replaying the disrespect in their heads, feeling helpless, angry, and resentful toward the world. They tell themselves that the world is filled with rude, malicious people. Now, prepare yourself for a hard, cold truth from modern psychology and ancient Stoicism. People do not disrespect you because they are evil. They disrespect you because you have trained them to do so. Disrespect is almost never random. It is an unconscious psychological test. Human beings are constantly reading the subtle, visual, verbal, and energetic cues you project into the room. If your behavior broadcasts that your boundaries are soft, that your time is cheap, and that you are terrified of conflict or rejection, people will instinctively step over you. You are teaching the world how to treat you every single minute of the day. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius faced disloyal generals, treacherous politicians, and disrespectful citizens every single day. Yet, he understood that true authority is never begged, for it is built through internal sovereignty. Be like the promontory against which the waves continually break. But it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it. In this comprehensive deep dive exploration, we are going to break down 8 strategic psychological shifts to uncover why people disrespect you and how to fix it instantly without shouting, arguing, or making a fool of yourself. Pay extremely close attention to shift number 4, because if you continue to make that mistake, every other boundary you attempt to set will instantly collapse. Let us begin. Shift 1. Eliminate the nice guy submissive reflex. Let us look at the fundamental trap that millions of well-meaning people fall into: excessive niceness. You were likely brought up to believe that if you are always polite, always accommodating, always available, and always agreeing with everyone, people will like you and respect you. So, you become the person who says yes to every favor. You apologize when someone else bumps into you. You nod enthusiastically at opinions you completely disagree with. And you apologize before asking a basic question. Here is the psychological tragedy. Niceness does not generate respect. It generates utility. When you are excessively nice, people do not see a person of high moral value. Subconsciously, their brain registers a person who is terrified of rejection, desperate for approval, and lacking internal core values. They realize that you will tolerate disrespect just to maintain the peace. And the moment people realize there are 0 consequences for disrespecting you, your respect value drops to absolute 0. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus who lived through physical slavery before gaining his freedom, warned his students about the danger of seeking social approval. If you ever turn your attention to externals in order to please anyone, be assured that you have ruined your scheme of life. Be content, then, in everything to be a philosopher. To stop the disrespect instantly, you must replace excessive niceness with calm civility backed by boundaries. You do not need to become mean, rude, or aggressive. A sovereign person is polite but cold as ice when their boundaries are tested. Stop agreeing when you disagree. Stop smiling when you are offended. Stop apologizing for existing. When someone makes an inappropriate joke or pushes past your limit, do not laugh to make them comfortable. Look at them with a neutral, unblinking expression. Hold silence for 2 full seconds. Let them feel the weight of their own bad behavior. The moment people realize that your niceness is a choice, not a desperate plea for their love, their respect for you will instantly skyrocket. Shift 2. Weaponize the power of scarcity. Look at how the economic world works. Why is gold worth thousands of dollars while gravel on the side of the road is worth nothing? Is gold inherently better at building roads than gravel? No, gold is valuable because it is scarce. Gravel is cheap because it is everywhere, under everyone's feet, completely accessible at all times. Most people treat their own time, energy, and attention like gravel. The second someone texts them, they reply in 3 seconds. When someone asks them to meet up, they drop everything they are doing. If a friend calls to complain for 2 hours, they sit there and listen, ignoring their own work and goals. They are permanently available, permanently reachable, permanently ready to serve. When you make your presence cheap and unlimited, people subconsciously conclude that your time has 0 value. And if your time has no value, you have no value in their eyes. Seneca, the great Stoic statesman, wrote extensively about the tragic waste of human availability. No person hands over their money to passers-by, but how many hand over their lives to anyone who comes along? We are tight-fisted with property and money, yet think nothing of wasting time, the one thing in which all should be tough-minded. To fix disrespect immediately, execute the law of scarcity. Withdraw your constant availability. Do not answer text messages the second they ring unless it is an absolute emergency. When someone asks for your time, do not immediately say yes. Pause, evaluate your priorities, and learn to deliver a firm, polite no without providing a lengthy excuse. Consider the psychological shift when you become scarce. People realize that your presence is a privilege, not a default setting. They stop taking your help for granted. When you do give someone your time and attention, it carries immense weight because they know you don't hand it out to just anyone. Stop being gravel. Become gold. Shift 3. Eliminate the need to over-explain yourself. Observe what happens when a submissive, insecure person sets a boundary or makes a basic life decision. Someone asks them to go to a party, and they don't want to go. Instead of saying a simple "I can't make it this time," they launch into a 5-minute defensive speech. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I really want to come. But you see, my dog hasn't been feeling great, and my boss assigned this project, and I haven't slept well. I am so sorry. Please don't be mad at me." Why do people do this? Because deep in their subconscious, they believe they need the other person's permission to live their life. They feel guilty for having boundaries. They believe that unless they provide a bulletproof excuse, they are doing something wrong. Here is the psychological truth. Over-explaining is a broadcast of weakness. When you over-explain, you give the other person leverage. You are begging them to validate your decision. And what do manipulative people do when you over-explain? They break down your excuses one by one until you are forced to give in. Marcus Aurelius kept his personal speech sharp, deliberate, and completely free from defensive fluff. Let your words be few, but let them carry the weight of an oath. Do not defend your right to live according to your nature, to command instant respect. Adopt the rule of sovereign brevity. When you say no, say it clearly, politely, and stop talking. I can't make it tonight. That doesn't work for me. I am not willing to discuss that topic. Do not add the fake excuses. Do not fill the silence with nervous chatter. State your decision, hold total physical stillness, and let the silence sit in the room. When you refuse to over-explain, you signal that your decisions are final. You prove that you answer to your own internal court, not to the court of public approval. Shift 4. The immediate consequence protocol. This is the central pillar of stopping disrespect and the exact point where 99% of people fail. Pay close attention. What is a boundary? Most people think a boundary is a speech. They think that if someone disrespects them, setting a boundary means giving a long, emotional lecture about how hurt they are, screaming or making empty threats. If you talk to me like that again, I'm going to leave. And then, what happens when the person disrespects them again 10 minutes later? Nothing. They stay in the room. They keep talking. They do nothing. Empty threats and emotional lectures do not build boundaries, they destroy them. When you announce a boundary but fail to enforce a real consequence, you teach people that your words are completely meaningless. You prove that you are a guard dog that barks loudly but has no teeth. An emotionally untouchable person understands the immediate consequence protocol. A boundary is not something you demand from others. It is an action you take yourself when a line is crossed. You do not need to yell. You do not need to argue. You simply enforce the consequence with cold, effortless certainty. Epictetus taught his students that self-respect requires immediate, calm action. If a man insults you, remember that it is not the speaker who insults, but your own opinion that this is insulting. Take action within yourself, not through rage against him. Look at how the consequence protocol works in real life. Someone raises their voice or talks down to you in a conversation. Do not yell back. Do not argue. Simply stand up, keep a neutral face and say, "I will not be spoken to in that tone." We can continue this conversation when you are calm. Then, and this is the vital step, walk away immediately. Leave the room. Hang up the phone, end the meeting. Do not wait for them to argue or apologize in that moment. Enforce the boundary with physical action. When people learn that crossing your boundaries results in an instant, silent loss of your presence, their behavior around you will change permanently. Respect is not commanded by your voice, it is enforced by your actions. Shift 5. Fix your physical gravitas. Long before you utter a single word in a room, people have already evaluated your status, your confidence, and your level of self-respect. How? Through your physical gravitas. Look at how a disrespected person moves through space. They posture themselves to look smaller. They slouch their shoulders forward, keep their chin down, wrap their arms tight around their torso, and dart their eyes nervously around the room. When they speak, their voice is quiet, high-pitched, and trailing off at the end of sentences as if asking for permission to exist. Your body language is a constant broadcast of your internal self-worth. If your body language screams that you feel inferior, people's primal instincts will kick in and they will treat you as inferior. The Stoics knew that internal mental mastery must reflect in external posture. Seneca noted, "A soul that is great and noble moves with quiet dignity. Its posture is upright, its movements deliberate, and its gaze unhurried to change how the world receives you." Execute these immediate physical adjustments. First, open your posture. Pull your shoulders back and down. Open your chest. Stop folding yourself inward like a closed umbrella. Second, control your head movement. Stop nodding compulsively like a toy doll while people speak to you. Offer a single, deliberate nod only when you genuinely agree. Third, lower your vocal speed. When you speak, lower your pitch, slow down your pace by 20%, and let your sentences finish with a firm, downward inflection. Do not let your voice rise at the end of a sentence like a question. State your words as settled facts. When you occupy physical space with calm, unhurried gravitas, people subconsciously register that you are an unshakable presence. They adjust their tone, lower their hostility, and listen when you step into the room. Shift 6. Stop reacting to psychological bait. Here is a dark, psychological truth about human behavior in social settings. Certain people, especially manipulators, bullies, and insecure narcissists, will intentionally drop subtle insults or baiting comments in front of others. They might say, "Oh, look who finally decided to do some work today," or "Are you sure you can handle this task? It looks a bit complex for you. Why do they do this?" They are throwing a piece of psychological bait into the water. They are testing you to see if they can trigger an emotional reaction out of you. If you get defensive, get angry, or start explaining why they are wrong, you lose. You have swallowed the hook. You have proven that their opinion has the power to shatter your peace and control your emotions. You have handed them the remote control to your nervous system. An emotionally untouchable person executes the neutral mirror. When someone throws psychological bait at you, do not swallow it. Do not get defensive. Look at them with total neutrality. Let 3 full seconds of silence pass. 1, 2, 3. Then, deliver a calm, brief response that reflects the irrelevance of their comment. Interesting thought. If you say so, or simply moving on and turn your attention back to your work or another person. Marcus Aurelius practiced total non-reaction against political baiting. When people injure you, ask yourself what good or evil they thought was in it. When you understand that, you will feel empathy for them instead of outrage. Look at what happens when you refuse to react to bait. The insult dies in the air. The person who threw the bait looks foolish, desperate, and childish in front of everyone. You prove that your mind is a fortress that cheap psychological games cannot enter. When people realize that baiting you yields zero emotional reward, they give up and back off permanently. Shift 7. Build a life outside of social validation. Ask yourself this critical question. Why are you so terrified of standing up to people who disrespect you? Let us be completely honest with ourselves. You stay quiet when disrespected because you are terrified of the outcome. You are terrified that if you set a hard boundary, the person will get angry with you. They might dislike you, exclude you from the group, fire you, or end the relationship. Because you have built your entire identity around their approval, you tolerate disrespect to avoid the pain of isolation. You are trapped in social captivity. And as long as you need people's approval, you will always be a slave to their behavior. To break this cycle, you must cultivate radical self-reliance. You must build a personal life that is so deeply rooted in your own goals, values, physical fitness, and financial independence that you do not need any specific group or individual to validate your existence. Epictetus taught that absolute freedom is the foundation of self-respect. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things which lie beyond our control. Consider the immense leverage of a self-reliant mind. When you walk into any room, relationship, or workplace knowing in your heart that you can stand on your own 2 feet without them, your entire aura changes. You no longer project desperation. You no longer tolerate poor treatment out of fear. You carry the sovereign edge, the absolute willingness to walk away from any table where respect is no longer being served. When people sense that you don't need them, they stop trying to control you and start respecting your standing. Shift 8. Hold absolute self-respect in solitude. We come now to the final, most foundational shift of all. Everything we have discussed, boundaries, physical gravitas, scarcity, and emotional non-reaction, is merely an external reflection of one internal reality. How you treat yourself when nobody is watching. Do you keep the promises you make to yourself in solitude? When you set an alarm for 6:00 am, do you get up? Or do you hit snooze 3 times? When you commit to a diet, a workout routine, or a study habit, do you follow through? Or do you quit the moment it becomes uncomfortable? If you constantly lie to yourself in solitude, your subconscious mind knows it. You build an internal self-image of a person who is weak, unreliable, and lacking discipline. And when you step into the world, that internal self-contempt radiates through your eyes, your voice, and your posture. You cannot trick the world into respecting you if you do not respect yourself. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of this truth every day in his journal. Dwell on the beauty of life. Look at the stars and see yourself running with them. Reclaim your self-respect by living according to your highest nature, even when no eye is upon you. To fix disrespect permanently, build uncompromising solitary discipline. Start making small promises to yourself every single morning and keep them with absolute iron willpower. Work out when you don't feel like it. Clean your space. Execute your work with meticulous pride. Stop poisoning your mind with cheap digital distractions. When you build a track record of keeping promises to yourself, your self-respect ceases to be a performance. It becomes an unshakable, internal reality. You won't need to ask for respect when you walk into a room. Your presence, forged through solitary self-mastery, will demand it automatically. Conclusion. The sovereign boundary-fixing disrespect is not about changing how other people think, act, or speak. It is about changing who you are in relation to the world. Stop begging people to treat you well. Stop explaining your worth to those who choose not to see it. Stop tolerating line crossing just to keep an uncomfortable peace. Drop the excessive niceness. Guard your time like gold. State your boundaries in few words and back them up with swift, quiet action. Build your physical gravitas, refuse the psychological bait, and forge an unshakable life in solitude. The world will always test your perimeter. It will push, probe, and scan for weakness. Stand like the marble statue. Let the waves break against your stone and watch the waters quiet down around you. If you are ready to stop tolerating disrespect and command your presence in total self-mastery starting today, leave one word in the comment section below: respect. Walk steady, build in silence, and let your boundaries speak for themselves.